Welcome to Garden Ways Adventures. My name is Malie, and today is the day after Thanksgiving and an absolutely gorgeous day. Now, I just started another video, and that's my fall cleanup video. I'm not sure which one of these videos I'm going to post first, but it'll probably be this one. And in the other video, I'm going to be cleaning up the fall leaves and cleaning up my yard for the final time this year. Now, as I said, this is the day after Thanksgiving, and normally this time of year, all the leaves are off the trees. We're getting ready to have big snowstorms. The weather is dipped into the 30s, and it doesn't usually come much above the 30s the rest of the winter. And I usually, by the week before Thanksgiving, have everything completely cleaned up, including all the leaves. But as you can see behind me, these are my apple trees, and the leaves are still alive. They're still green. They've gone down, they've had temperatures in the teens, and they are not falling off the trees. They're not dying. And this is the latest I've ever seen this happen. As I've said, we've had night times in the teens for several nights since October. And so they've definitely frozen over and over again. We've had several storms come through. We've actually had, pretty deep snow so far this year, and they're still living, still green and on the trees. And I only usually like to do a leaf cleanup once a year. So it looks like I'm going to be doing a leaf cleanup next spring, which I guess is going to be okay. It really bothers me to think that I'm going to have to do that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why I think this is happening, why these leaves are still on the tree, why they're still green, and what is going to happen to the trees because of this. So let's talk a little bit about science and how trees and leaves work together. So as all of us have learned in grade school science, leaves are where trees get their energy. This is where they house most of the elements that give them energy. So they have chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is used for photosynthesis. And then there are other elements that we're not going to go into that help the trees in various other ways. So those are stored in the leaves. Trees also have roots, and roots gather nutrients from the soil. So it's the nutrients from the soil and the energy from the sun that it harvests through photosynthesis that fuels the tree's growth. Now in the fall, what generally happens, and it doesn't look like it's really happened this year, trees will send out signals, with the shortening of the days and the cooling of the nights. It will send out signals to the leaves, and the leaves will start breaking up all of these elements, and then it will shunt those right down to the roots and store them in the roots. And then the elements that the tree does not need at that time are left in the leaves, and some of those elements cause the color change in leaves. And then it sends out a hormone that causes the leaves to detach from the tree. And then when the leaves fall to the ground, those elements that are left in the leaves can be broken down and reabsorbed by the roots later if the leaves are left around the trees. Now obviously somewhere that process got broken down. So let me describe to you what kind of weather we've had this year so far. Here we are in front of my cherry tree, which also is holding on to its leaves. These leaves seem to have completed their cycle a little bit more, because when I shake a branch, we do get some leaves detaching. Not a lot, but some. And then my peach tree, for some reason, did change color, and all the leaves fell off in the normal time. So every tree seems to be different. But this year I think we had one of the warmest Octobers that I can remember. Now, not everywhere in Utah was as dry as it was here in Pleasant Grove, but in Pleasant Grove, I don't think we got measurable rainfall except for once in October. It was extremely dry, and it was very warm. It stayed in the 60s and 70s. The night times didn't go below 50s. Sometimes it dipped it in the 40s. But usually we have a really heavy frost by the first week in October, and we did not get that. We finally got a frost and a freeze mid-October, and we got a really good snowfall and some good moisture, but then it warmed up again. So we've had a very warm, very dry year. And so I think either, I heard one arborist say that the trees are trying to take up as much nutrients as they can, since we've also had a very, very hot, very, very dry summer. They're just holding on to their leaves as long as they can. My thought is that we didn't get the triggers necessary, the cold weather along with the shorter days, soon enough for the trees to complete their cycle. So now we know a little bit about what happened and why I think it happened. What's going to happen to my trees next year? Is it going to kill my trees? Is it going to weaken them? Well, my thoughts is that we may see a little bit less vigorous growth next year, but I think the trees will be absolutely fine. The only thing that I am worried about is a heavy snowfall on top of the trees that are full of leaves. The leaves hold more of the snow, they add more weight, and this is when you start seeing broken branches. So the way to avoid that is to go out periodically during heavy snowstorms. If it's really heavy wet snow, make sure to knock the snow off of the branches before you actually get the breakage. So that's probably what I'll be doing with my apple tree. And I also have a medlar tree out front that is full of leaves. And that's the one that I'm worried about the most because it's got pretty weak wood and it's also leaning a little bit from all of the wind that we always get. So I don't want that one to fall over, and I also don't want the branches to break. So I'll go out there with a broomstick, if we end up having heavy wet snows that don't bring the leaves down, and be knocking the snow off of those branches. But other than that, I think all of the trees will be fine. So I'd like to hear what's happening in your area where you're living. Are you seeing the same thing? Are the leaves holding on to your trees a little bit longer than they have? And then does it correlate to a difference in weather that you've seen? If so, I would love to hear about that and hear your thoughts on why this is happening. So I hope my videos are helpful to you. If they are helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share them with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.